So I have my sculpture laying down and I have it supported. I have something underneath it because the base is not even with the back of the hand. So because of that, and you can see even then it's getting warped. I'll have to fix that after. But this is going to be the easiest angle for me to start to try to do my fingernails. I still have a little bit more shaping to do on the fingers. But to start the fingernails, because you can always go back and rework them so you can try them, and if they don't, work out well, or if they get messed up doing something else on one of the knuckles, you can always go in and fix it. But one of the ways that I find doing the fingernails the easiest is if you look at the side of your finger, this area where that comes down to the cuticle, it literally drops down lower right here to get to the fingernail. So if I'm doing that, I want the fingernail to be a little bit lower at the back of the cuticle here, and that's also typically somewhat rounded. Sometimes people have a little bit flatter of the base of their nail down here, but if it's rounded, you want to curve that. And then this is also going to be indented, kind of coming down the fingernail there and here, and I can press this a little bit more to give the overall arch, because this part of your fingernail is typically higher and this part wraps around, hence we get that a little bit of an arch shape right here. And then I can go in and try to press that. Once I have that done, you can use a damp paintbrush and try to smooth things out. And I like to kind of go back and forth between using some sort of hard tool, whether it's wood or metal. Sometimes it's nice, even if I'm not using it to cut, you can use a metal kind of tool to help shape things, but it's trying to find that right combination. I have a paper towel under here, that right combination of using water and soft tools versus hard tools. And sometimes if it gets too muddy and too mushy from the water, just let it dry for 5 or 10 minutes and then go back to it later on. So there's the beginning of one fingernail. I feel like this cuticle skin area is sticking up too much, so I can just slowly wet my brush and kind of wash away a little bit of clay at a time and really kind of go in and fine tune the volumes by removing little tiny bits of clay at a time. And if there's a more significant area where you need a line, then switch back to your hard tool again. Okay, I'm going to go over to the next fingernail, and I am sure I will be back to this one to do some more, but I think that's a good place to start. And if I look at it sideways, you can see that that's a little bit lower in there, but maybe I need to work on this little section right here a little bit more. There's like a little bit of extra clay that has to come out of there, just a little bit too thick. Anyway, it just takes time and nuance to get all of that stuff the way that it should be. So patience, reworking, and it's okay if you get it the first time. You can just literally smooth that all out, add a little click onto it, let it rest for a little bit so the clay kind of evens out in moisture, and then give it another go. Try it again. All right, I'm going to go off camera to try to work this next one, and maybe I'll after I get that fingernail kind of started. All right, so they're pretty good now. maybe you can tell by the shine on them that they're really wet and kind of like mushy on the edges because I did a lot with the paintbrush. So if I even just touch the paintbrush to it a little bit, it kind of changes pretty dramatically. So because of that, I'm going to let it sit overnight, and overnight only because it's already, later at night. But I would want to let it sit for a little bit so those edges could dry up. And then once they are more consistent with the rest of this and not so mushy and they have a little bit of a solid feel to them again, then I can go in and rework them without every little brush stroke having such a dramatic impact on them. So I do still have more work to do on the nails, but I'd say I'm about 80% of the way there on the nails, and then I have to start working on refining the skin and creating the creases and the texture and all of that. But every time I touch that right now, I'm changing that. So I'm not going to work on that now until I get some of this areas where I don't need to handle the clay. I won't have to touch this once I'm done with this area. So once I have those set, then I will go back to the outside and rework some of those. Okay, so that's where I'm at right now.